So let's talk a little bit about energy levels. Now, I suspect if you're here watching this video today, the reason you're here is because you feel a bit tired, you don't feel like you've got enough energy, and that might mean that you wake up feeling just that you haven't had a good night's sleep. You go through the day having energy dips and you have to reach for the sweet stuff, or you get to the end of the day and you just don't have energy left to do anything that you enjoy. Or maybe it's a combination of all of those things. And if that is you, then please don't worry, I've got you covered. This is exactly why I'm making this video. So today's video is all about trying to give you some really easy to understand and even easier to implement hints and tips on how you can boost energy. And I want to show you some life hacks, if you like, on ways in which you can make some small adjustments in your day-to-day life, which should mean that you'd be able to go from not feeling like you've got much energy to really boosting your energy levels and noticing a really tangible difference on a day-to-day basis. And wouldn't it be great if you can get through the day having lots of energy, feeling more focused, having more energy to do the things that you love? Like, that is a great place to be, and that is what this video is all about. So I'm going to go through some hints and tips on how we can achieve that with you. So stick around and let's get into the video. So tip number one, the first thing I'm going to talk about today is sleep. And when I say it's the foundation of everything else that follows, I genuinely am being as sincere and as serious as I possibly can when I say that, because sleep really is the foundation of all the other things that follow to allow you to have good levels of energy the following day and just feel good. And we all know from having a rubbish night's sleep how that feels. And the way sleep affects us is multifaceted. First of all, sleep can affect our hormone levels throughout the day, so it can increase hormones like ghrelin, which means we'll want to eat more. It can affect brain function, and when we sleep, our brain repairs and recovers and gets rid of all of the nasties that have built up from the day, if you like. So it's really important for brain health as well. And equally, studies have shown that when you don't get enough sleep, you tend to eat more and you make really poor food choices. In fact, a lot of the research out there will show you that poor sleep is related to really bad dietary habits. So it's really important that you get on top of your sleep, and I want to give you some tips on how to do that. The first thing that you can do is set a regular routine for going to bed at the same time and getting up at the same time. Get your body used to going to bed and getting up at as close to the same time every single day. And the reason why that's really important is because your sleep cycles in your body are like most things, consistency equals progress. So if you get a regular sleep pattern, a regular time to go to bed and a regular time to get up, then your body will get into the rhythm of going to sleep at that time and getting up at that time. And your hormonal systems, your sleep-wake cycles will tune in much better to those times. And actually what you'll find over time, if you do stick to that, is your ability to get towards that time and feel like you want to go to sleep will improve, and therefore your quality of sleep is also likely going to improve. And the final tip I've got for you is don't eat or drink too close to bed. Both eating and drinking can disrupt your sleep-wake cycle and just disrupt the quality of sleep. So generally what I would say is don't eat 2+ hours before you go to bed. And when it comes to drinking, just try to avoid drinking too much alcohol too close to bed. And that will help really with, again, hormone regulation and quality of sleep, just to make sure that you're setting yourself up for that rest and digest state to make sure that you can get a proper night's sleep. Okay, so tip number two, we're going to talk a bit about hydration and getting enough water in your day-to-day routines. And I can't tell you the amount of people that I've come across that just don't drink enough water. And no, you cannot get all of your fluid needs from just drinking tea and coffee all day long. You do need to drink water. After all, the body is 60 to 70% water. A lot of the chemical reactions that happen inside the body are mediated by hydrolysis, and that's a chemical reaction which uses water as the medium. So it's really important that we hydrate. And there are a few reasons for that. Well, firstly, the brain really doesn't function very well without adequate hydration. And actually there is a lot of studies out there which will show you that when hydration drops and there's even 1 or 2% dehydration, brain function, cognition, mood all drops. So if you're not able to think and focus clearly, then how are you going to be able to make the right decisions to fuel your energy abundance? The second reason is your body needs water to perform at its optimum. Again, lots of the research out there will show you that dehydration, certainly when it comes to things like training and endurance sports, even a drop of 1 to 2% will massively impact the performance of the individual. So you really need to make sure you're hydrating properly to make sure that you fully optimize both your mind and your body for everything that the day is going to throw at you. Okay, so what are my tips on hydrating? Well, first and foremost, let's talk about how much you need. And actually 2 to 4 liters is probably about right for most people. In some acute situations, you might want to drink a little bit more, but generally sticking to 2 to 4 liters is around about the right amount for most people. And how do you do that? It sounds like a lot, doesn't it? Well, what I would say you shouldn't do is glug a litre of water at the beginning of the day and then a litre of water at the end of the day. Just don't do that. You want to be drinking little and often, because if you think about it, if you drink loads of water at the beginning of the day and then loads at the end, there's going to be a massive period throughout the day where you probably end up dehydrated, and that's going to affect your brain and your body, and you're going to not give it the opportunity to optimize in the way that you need it to really hit those energy levels that you're looking for. So drink little and often. Carry a bottle around with you. Use your pee as a bit of a guide. I mean, your pee color should be kind of a little bit like this top, sort of a lightish yellow, maybe not as green as this top, a light yellow. If your pee is too yellow when you go to the toilet, you're not drinking enough. If it's really white, then you're drinking too much and you want to maybe row back. So it's a really good indicator. The body's really clever at giving you hints as to what's going on. So use your pee as a good mediator, and that will allow you to know throughout the day whether you're drinking enough or not. Okay, so tip number 3 is fueling and good nutrition. So what do I mean by good nutrition when it comes to energy abundance and optimizing your energy levels? Well, actually what I mean by that is getting your energy levels stable throughout the day. And you'd probably be able to relate to this, but most people that I talk to and work with have a situation where their energy levels will spike for part of the day and then completely crash for part of the day. And when their energy levels crash for part of the day, they tend to reach for the sweet stuff, the high sugar stuff, to bring their energy levels back up, which means their energy levels spike again, and then they crash again. And this yo-yoing of energy levels is what we call the blood sugar roller coaster. So when I talk about energy optimization, one of the main things we're trying to do with nutrition is stabilize energy levels through the day so that you have consistent energy and you don't have those massive highs and then those massive crashes. So how do you do that? Well, there's a couple of really easy to implement hacks that I can give you. And the first one of those is to make sure you have adequate protein with every meal. And that has 2 key effects. First of all, it gives you a sense of fullness. So when you eat more protein, you have a sense of fullness and you're less likely to snack and then go and get that chocolate bar that you think that you need. And the second impact of protein is it will actually just make sure that when you have carbohydrates, the absorption of those carbohydrates, the breaking down of those carbohydrates into sugars that your body can use is slowed down a little bit. So then what happens is you get a slower release of energy from those carbs than you would otherwise have if you didn't have protein with your meal. And would you think about that wave of energy, ups and downs, being a bit more stable? So protein with every meal, 20 to 40 grams or a fist-sized portion is going to be plenty for most people. And that would be the first thing that you want to do to stabilize your energy levels. The second thing you can do is really think closely about the carbohydrates that you are consuming. A lot of people that I work with, and I don't blame them because it's really convenient and easy to get hold of, but you have highly processed, highly refined carbohydrates. And what that actually is where they take the original food product, like wheat, for example, and strip away all of those outer layers of nutrients. And then what you're left with is just a refined version of the carbohydrate. So 2 things happen there. First of all, what that means is the carbohydrate is in a more simple form. So when you eat it, it's going to be broken down and absorbed into the body much faster, which is going to be much more likely to spike your blood sugars again and bring up those energy levels so that you then subsequently have a crash. But the second thing that happens is that all of those nutrients that are in the carbohydrates have been stripped away. So not only are you having just the refined carbohydrate, which will spike your energy levels and then crash them again, you're also missing out on all those vital nutrients that are really powerful for optimizing your cell's energy systems and making sure that you reach that energy optimization. So you want to aim for having whole carbohydrates, whole wheat pasta, whole wheat rice, whole wheat bread, and really then think about things like your fruits and vegetables and bringing them in because they're highly fibrous as well. They're high in fiber and they're going to be packed full of all the nutrients that your body needs. And the final thing I'll say in carbohydrates, fruits and vegetables is aim for as much colour variation as you possibly can, because all those tiny nutrients that I mentioned, those micronutrients that really are involved in energy production, they're spread across a range of those colourful fruits and vegetables. So if you have variation, chances are you're going to be hitting those goals as well in terms of getting the right amount of nutrients in to really power your energy system. And my final tip when it comes to nutrition is having good quality fats. So a little bit like protein, fats help mediate the release of carbohydrates into the bloodstream, but also fats play a vital role in making sure that the cells themselves are the right shape, the right rigidity, and they're really, really important when it comes to overall cell health, which plays a massive role in overall energy health because energy production happens inside the cell. So I'm here to tell you that fat is not bad. Some fats are bad, of course, but if you get the right fats in your diet, they can be a massive game changer when it comes to energy optimization. And what are those fats? Well, you want to have things like avocados, olive oil, nuts and seeds, and things like fatty fish like salmon and herring and sardines. So if you can get those really healthy fats in your diet, a really small portion, probably want to aim for somewhere in the region of 70 to 90 grams per day will be adequate for most people, then you're really going to be supporting the cell health that I talked about, which will then in turn drive energy abundance and optimize your energy systems. Okay, so we're on to tip number 4. But before I give you the next tip, I wonder whether you've got any secrets or any ways in which you optimize your energy, or conversely, are there any things that happen that you think really drain your energy day to day? I'd love to hear your personal stories, maybe some of your questions about energy optimization. So feel free to put them in the comments section below and I'll have a look at them and get back to you as soon as I can. So tip number 4, exercise gives you energy. And before I go into the specifics of why that's really, really important for energy optimization, I just want to say I do appreciate and understand and relate to a lot of people's struggles when it comes to trying to fit some movement into their day-to-day routines. I get it, and I know that for a lot of people it's really, really busy out there, especially with jobs and family and other commitments. But I just want to talk through some of the really amazing things that happen inside the body when you do exercise, so that we can try and find some ways to get a bit of movement in, and you want to try and prioritize that in your day wherever you possibly can. So what happens inside the body when we exercise? Well, there are 3 things that I think are really, really interesting, and they all center around the body trying to adapt to the new conditions under which you're making it work. So the first one of those is when you exercise, your body will increase its capacity to carry oxygen. And what that means is the more oxygen you can get around to the working muscles, the more they can work and the longer they can work for. So it actually means that you can do more, and that's one of the reasons why you get fitter and stronger, because you can carry more oxygen. The second reason, again, is your body's way of adapting to the additional demands that you put on it, is it will increase the number of blood capillaries that you have inside your body. So not only are you getting more oxygen to the muscles, you can actually get more blood flow to the muscles in response to that demand. So therefore, as you get fitter, you get more oxygen, you get more blood going to the muscles. And the third reason, which is my personal favorite, is when you exercise more, your cells also respond to the additional demands by increasing the number of energy producing components, or mitochondria as we like to call them. And those little cell powerhouses that are responsible for generating energy, the numbers of those will actually go up as you exercise more. So that means that you can genuinely produce more energy. And that's why as you get fitter, you can go for longer. And that's why you feel more energetic when you do exercise. So you get more oxygen, you get more blood to the working muscles, and you get more energy producing mitochondria. So 3 really, really physiologically important reasons why exercise genuinely does make you feel better and give you more energy. Okay, so how do you get a bit more movement in day to day? The first thing is when you wake up, try and do 10 or 15 minutes if you've got the time of a stretch or a little bit of movement. So that could be as simple as going outside and taking a little walk, go and walk in the dog in the morning, or just getting in a bit of free space in your house and doing 10 minutes of yoga or a morning stretch. It doesn't have to be strenuous at all. It just wakes the body up and gets you moving and sort of releases all the joints and just de-stiffens you from being laid still or not in bed. Okay, so the second tip I've got is for the desk dwellers among us. I sit down at a desk a lot of my day, and the tip that I've got for you is find 5 minutes if you can, 10 minutes even better, every 90 minutes or so to just get up and have a little wander around, shake the legs out, have a little stretch. Try not to get stuck to your desk for 7-8 hours at a time. You'll be surprised how much movement you can get by just doing that every 90 minutes or so if you possibly can. And the third and final tip I've got to boost energy through exercise. And this is one that's perhaps a bit more commitment heavy, but it's to try and find 3 to 4 times a week, 30 minutes to 60 minutes of moderate to intense exercise. It could be any type of exercise that you enjoy. It could be running, swimming, cycling, going to the gym, doing another hobby that gets you movement and keeps you active. But the important thing here is to get that moderate to intense level of exercise 3 to 4 times a week. And that's how you're really going to drive up some of the benefits that I've talked about and explained to you. So getting some focused exercise sessions in during the week, and then finding ways to just keep yourself moving during the day when you're working or when you're getting up in the morning, that's going to get you ample amounts of movement and is really going to encourage your body to respond in the ways that I've described. And it's really going to allow you to help boost energy levels, and you're going to feel much, much better on the back of doing those things. Okay, so we're on to the fifth and final tip on ways you can boost energy levels on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to finish with stress. And I know that stress is a big deal for almost everybody. Everyone I know has a lot of stress. I experience stress in my day-to-day life. Of course I do. And of course we all do. And stress is okay in small doses. But I think the issue we have is that most people feel stressed most of the time. And it really is damaging to your energy levels and overall health. You are in a state of stress when you've got high cortisol and your body is heightened to stress. Your mitochondria, those little cell powerhouses, the things that create energy inside the cell, they'll actually respond to that in a negative way. So they sort of dumb down their activity in response to stress. And equally, stress impacts your thyroid, which is the master regulator of metabolism. So increased stress reduces the ability of the thyroid to do its job. And the final thing I'll say is, when we are in a state of high stress, people tend to fall into one or two camps. So you'll either eat loads because you're stressed, or you'll not eat enough because you're stressed. Either of those things are not really going to help when it comes to optimizing your energy levels. So how can we get on top of stress, and what things can you potentially do to reduce your stress levels on a day-to-day basis? And the first one of those is something called box breathing. So this is where we breathe in for 4 seconds, we hold our breath for 4 seconds, we breathe out for 4 seconds, and then we hold our breath again for 4 seconds. So you're breathing in for 4, hold for 4, breathing out for 4, and hold for 4. And that's actually been shown to reduce the state of stress inside the body, and that will push your body into the state of rest and digest, which is the opposite of a state of stress. So I highly recommend people, if they experience a lot of stress, just to try 3 to 5 minutes of box breathing, especially if you get home from work and you've had a really long day, or you feel really stressed and you want to go and binge on the things that you know you probably shouldn't be eating. Just try 3 to 5 minutes of box breathing, and that should lower your stress levels and mean that when you respond to those situations, you can just respond a little bit better. And the second tip I've got for trying to lower your stress is just take a bit of time for yourself on a day-to-day basis. Take care of your personal needs. And it's really easy to say, but actually I think if you look at it, most people don't make time for themselves because we tend to want to make sure the people we love around us are doing okay and have the things that they need. But it's really important that you take a bit of time for your personal needs as well. And that looks like many different things for many different people. So my advice is just to take half an hour if you can every single day to do something for you. And it's not selfish, and it's really, really important to do that so you can take care of your own well-being. And my third and final tip for managing your stress is make sure you do things for fun. It's really, really easy to get caught in this state of you must be productive, you must be moving on to the next thing, you must be pushing towards that next goal. And I think actually that drives a state of stress and anxiety because we're just not making enough time to live in the here and now. So make sure you balance the goals, the work, the things you feel like you have to do on your to-do list with just some time to do something you enjoy and chill out and relax and enjoy your time with your friends. Go and have some drinks down the pub on a Friday, whatever it is that works for you. But make sure you enjoy the here and now because that can really help you feel a bit more balanced and again, manage those stress levels. So those are my top tips on how you can boost energy levels, massively turbocharge your optimization, your overall health, your wellness and your happiness. With that being said, I know I've covered a lot of topics today and they're quite complicated and we can go into so much more detail on almost every single one. So if you're looking for some additional support or you feel like you really want to work on these things but you might just need a helping hand, I put the link to my website below and I'd love to hear from you so we can explore ways in which I can help you further. So thanks for listening and I'll see you at the next video.